Hi everyone. Tonight we're going to talk about genetics, chapter 12. Genetics is a kind of a more complicated topic. We had a little intro to it when we talked about some of the reproduction um, uh, information in the previous chapter. So genetics is a study of animal inheritance, and genetics is the basis of all biotechnology, whether it's mapping an animal's genome or cloning, embryo transfer, artificial insemination. All of those tie heavily into the study of genetics. And in animal science, genetics is one of those areas that you could choose to be involved in terms of studying, especially when we talk about the technician level doing embryo transfer and artificial insemination. There's lots of jobs in that area. And if you like working in a lab, genetics is very important if you've ever done any DNA testing with any livestock, which we do on a regular basis. So we couldn't talk about genetics without talking about mitosis and meiosis, which may be a familiar topic to you. Hopefully it is. You learned about this maybe in a grade school science class or high school. There's two types of cells in all living things. There's somatic cells, which are your body cells. All your body cells, every living body cell has a complete set of chromosomes in each cell. So that means that the chromosomes are paired. And one of the chromosomes comes from the sire and one comes from the down. So one comes from your father and one comes from your mother in every living cell in your body. Those are somatic cells. Somatic cells reproduce through a process called mitosis, and there's various steps in mitosis that are studied heavily when you take biology. We're not going to study the steps in this class. During the process of mitosis, each cell divides and produces two identical cells, and those cells are called daughter cells. And those cells each have the perfect, exact copy of the genetic material that was in the original cell. And they each have a paired complement of chromosomes. So if we look at the numbers of chromosomes in common types of livestock, you can see the number varies pretty dramatically. And I definitely, by looking at that, I'm sure you would agree with me, that the intelligence of an animal is not linked to the number of their chromosomes. So swine are pretty smart animals, and I would call chickens and turkeys not too high on the IQ rating scale for farm animals. So that has nothing to do with their intelligence, how many pairs of chromosomes you have. And I will say that avian chromosomes are kind of wacky. They are different sizes and different shapes, and so they're a little bit different than mammalian chromosomes. So let's talk a little bit more about genetic concepts. So chromosomes, the things that make you who you are made from DNA. DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid and controls all your body processes. So you might think that you control your body processes, but really you don't. It's controlled by DNA. So your DNA controls your growth, the ultimate size, mature size, for example, of a market animal. Phenotype is the animal's appearance. That is controlled to a certain extent by genetics. Coat color, if you're in the cattle business, you have the Angus cattle have a black coat, Herefords have red, is determined by your genetics, DNA. Behavior, we heard that earlier in another video I showed you, that behavior is a heritable trait, means it can be passed on from one generation to the next, so there is a DNA link there. And of course, susceptibility to some diseases can be controlled by your DNA. So let's talk about a gene. What's the difference between a gene and a chromosome? A gene is just a location on a chromosome. It is a part of a chromosome that codes for a specific trait, or it works with other genes to code for a specific trait. Okay, here is a picture of the ultimate result of mitosis. So mitosis, this is a body cell. This is the nucleus where the chromosomes are located. Through the process of mitosis, the cell divides, and you have from one cell to two cells, like when an animal's growing. And the end cells, these daughter cells, have a complement of chromosomes the same as the parent cell. That's important to remember about mitosis. So a couple more terms. Gametes, that's another term for your reproductive cells. In a female, gametes are the ova, and in a male, the gametes are the sperm. And your eggs and your sperm only have a single set of chromosomes instead of paired chromosomes. These single set of chromosomes result from the process of cell division known as meiosis. So meiosis is how we make reproductive cells. Mitosis is how we make regular body cells. So the term gametogenesis is the process of the production of reproductive cells. This is a process of meiosis, and this top part is the production of sperm. So we start off with whatever your primordial germ cells and end up with sperm cells that have half the complement of chromosomes. So half of the normal amount of chromosomes is located in each reproductive cell by the process of meiosis. Same thing with an egg cell. You end up with an ovum or egg cell that has half the number of chromosomes that would be the normal amount for that animal. So half. That's why they're paired. In a gamete, they're not paired. When the egg and sperm get together, you have a full complement of chromosomes because those chromosomes have to work in a pair. I'll show you why in a minute. So remember that as much as you may or may not like your biological mother and father, your parents contribute, each of them contribute half of your genotype. Okay, half of your genotype. Sometimes the genes can be, have a more overpowering effect. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So, you say, oh, he looks like the sire, or that sheep, she looks like the dam, her mother. And that has to do with genetics also. But remember, it's 50-50. Very important concept in livestock breeding. Remember that chromosomes occur in pairs, one from the male, one from the female. A gene is a location on a chromosome. A gene codes for like a certain trait or works with other genes to control a trait. The chromosomes themselves, made up of all these different locations or genes, are twisted into a double helix. And that double helix is what was discovered by Watson and Crick, I believe in the early 1970s. And that kind of opened up the study of DNA and modern genetics, the formation of that double helix, that twisted strand of DNA. So here's an amazing fact. DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, is composed of very simple molecules. It's composed of a phosphate, a deoxyribose sugar, and 4 nitrogenous bases. These 4 nitrogenous bases are called adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. And those 4 bases combine together in that DNA spiral to make your genes and your chromosomes, and that basically codes for who you are in terms of your genotype. Okay? Those 4 nitrogenous bases make up what you are, make up all animals, all plants, and all living things have the same nitrogenous bases. That is an amazing thing about living things in the world as we know it. So here's a picture of the double helix. Each one of these strands, this strand here, let's just say this strand is a chromosome from the mother. This strand over here is a chromosome from the father. They're twisted together and these bases hold them together. And each little segment along this strand of DNA is a gene. And a gene codes for a trait or a quality, or a group of genes work together to code for some larger, quality. Okay, so when we talk about how genes regulate things, they do that through protein synthesis. And that happens first inside the nucleus of the cell. That's called transcription. And that's the reading of the genetic code. And then there's translation, which is the synthesizing the protein from the code. And they really doesn't teach you very much about this. This is like a whole month in genetics or biology. But this process of synthesizing the protein from the 4 nitrogenous bases is what tells your cells to do things, whether it's to, produce more of a tissue, or to produce a hormone, or to produce something else that's going on in your body. Okay, so this is just the idea of fertilization of the egg. So we have a single complement of DNA, half the genetic material here produced through meiosis, half the genetic material produced through meiosis. They get together in the reproductive tract or in the test tube, and that is what fertilization is. A fertilized egg is called a zygote. Okay, so one of the things you may have learned this a long time ago, this is a Punnett square. And this is a very, very simplified way. It's really statistics. It's a simplified way to show you how genetics works in a very, very rudimentary way. So if you have, in this situation, you're going to have to listen carefully because it's easier to show it than it is to explain on a video. So if you have an Angus cow, or let's put the bull here. This is an Angus bull. He's a purebred Angus bull. So he's what we call homozygous. Homozygous means each of his chromosomes carry the same gene. Okay, so the gene is for the black coat color. So this bull is what we call homozygous dominant, or just homozygous. The big B means it's a dominant trait for black coat color. The cow that he breeds to, this is her DNA. And in her DNA, she has a strand of DNA that is in her DNA or whatever, that is dominant for black, and she carries a recessive gene too. A recessive gene is a gene that lacks the strength to cover up the black trait. So this cow, her phenotype, what she looks like, phenotype is what she looks like. Genotype is what her DNA says. Her phenotype is black. So it looks like we're breeding a black Angus bull. This guy's purebred. He's homozygous. That's the thing about purebreds. This lady here, this cow, is heterozygous, but she looks black. So we don't know she's heterozygous unless we have her DNA tested. If we have her DNA tested, we could find this little recessive guy here, depending on what trait it is. So if we breed these two together, here's the odds of what the calf will be like. So the calf, in all instances, carries that dominant big B gene. So we just go big B with dominant big B with dominant big B. So we just drop them down. Drop that one down, bring this one over. Drop this one down, bring this one over. And that is how we get what's called a Punnett square. And basically what a Punnett square says is it's the odds of what your calf will be if that is the genetic combination of the two parents. So the phenotype is what they look like. All the cows will be black. But when they're born, they have a 50-50 chance, 50-50 chance of being heterozygous, carrying that recessive gene, or being homozygous, dominant for the black gene. So this little guy right here is kind of a recessive gene that stays in hiding. And the only time it's expressed is when both parents either obviously have the gene or they're a carrier. And that is very common in cattle. In cattle, the black coat color for the most part is a dominant trait. Although it does show some blending. You guys know what a smoky calf is. That's a blending between a Charolais and a Angus. Anyway, moving on. So in this case, we have parents that are heterozygotes. They both appear to be black, the big B and the little b. So black Angus. This guy is maybe not from a registered herd. He's just a good looking bull, so we're keeping him. And this is a cow that is black and she's part of our herd. We breed them together and lo and behold, this B goes with that B. Remember, this is the possible combination of sperm and egg. And so big B with little b, and then this one has little b and little b. So the phenotype, if she were to have one calf, because a cow normally has one calf, if she were to have one calf, she would have a 75% chance of it being black, and she would have a 25% chance of that calf being red. And that is where you kind of get those throwbacks from. That's where you get a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid from two parents that have brown eyes. That is a possibility. I'm an example of that, by the way. So that is how we get that throwback. So the phenotype is what they look like, 75% black. The genotype is what the genes are. Okay, I have to stop because I'm about to run out of time. Look like this is going to be a 2 lecture.